Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello
Waalaikumsalam
everyone.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to our weekly event that is Weekend Touch Talk. And today I will be the host of this event, and my name is Tariq Hussein Ramadan. And then today we have one speaker that is Raka Sapta Fabian. And then the theme for today is introducing to Roblox Studio ya Raka.
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, maybe Raka, you can introduce yourself and can start the event too.
Okay, thank you for having me, Torik. My name is Raka Saptafabian. Currently studying in IDN Boarding School, 11th grade of RPL major. And as you see, this is probably my second time doing one of these interviews or something. And yes, last time I did it was 1 year ago at ninth grade. No, at 10th grade. So yeah. So I guess that's all you need to know about me, and that we're going to be talking about, as you see, Roblox Studio. But before that, I'll let Torik continue for now.
Okay, thank you Raka for the little introduction. Okay, maybe you can start your Roblox studio now.
Right. I am going to be presenting my share screen, you could say. Share screen. Let's see. Let me just configure it. And hopefully now, as you see, you should be able to see my studio. Now, this is Roblox Studio. Before we continue any more further, I would like to do a little introduction to this program. It's basically a little program, you could say, with a game development engine for the Roblox platform. So it's quite easy to learn, you could say. I mean, it is made for people like beginners, you could say, and for kids, but it's also used by professionals. And in this video, we're going to be seeing on how or the introduction of what you can do in Roblox Studio and stuff like that. So before we continue any further, I would like to introduce you to the layout first. Now, as you see in the layout, you could see like a bunch of stuff here, and this is going to be important. Now, in the middle right here is the game screen, which is basically where you're going to be doing most of your work, you could say. Now, as you see, you can move around with WASD or with page up and down with your keyboard, and also you can scroll and zoom in. And as you see, you can also grab in-game objects. Now, this is based on object-oriented programming, except it is literal because you could grab the object and you can move it around. And yes, and then we're going to be moving on to the next major ones. There's the toolbox, of course. The toolbox is quite important. Well, at least for beginners. As long as you're, well, yeah. Why is it important, you can ask? Now, it's because for beginners, you could say, they don't really know how to make stuff. So the Roblox platform provides you with toolboxes. They're like a public library where people can upload their stuff and people can use it. So let's say I want to have let's say, oh my God, no, not that one. Let's say we want to have a 2019 sports car in my game. Just click on that thing and it should be able to load in. Now it's going to take quite a while depending on how big the object is. So while we wait for that, let's try to import something like a classic house or something. And as you see, it doesn't really work. Now, this is probably due to the connection, but it shouldn't be that much of a problem anyways, because we're not going to be using the toolbox in the video. But you could try it out yourself by, well, downloading Roblox Studio. And we're just going to close this. And this is the other layout. This up here is the home section. There's a lot of stuff in here. First, you have the usual paste, copy, and cut and duplicate, but this is usually used for objects like this. As you see, you can duplicate it, and now there's two of them, and yeah, and you can cut or copy it, paste, cut, stuff like that. And then there's also the select, move, scale, rotate tools, which is basically the modeling, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. as you see. You could also rotate it. Pretty cool stuff. And yes, then there's also a geometric or physical mode, which is basically modeling as well. There's also collisions and joint surfaces for modeling stuff. And for the terrain, there's a terrain editor. In Roblox, there's like a terrain system in which you can use easily, which is basically this. And then there's the toolbox. And then there's also, you can insert a lot of parts like blocks or spears, wedge, corner wedges, or perhaps cylinders. And they look like this. Then there's also the UI, which is basically used for GUIs, which I'm sure you probably know, game user experiences or interface. And yeah, there's also import 3D, which is basically if you want to import a 3D model or mesh into your game. Now, there's also the material manager, which manages the materials in your game, which is basically like the texture. Let's say I want to give this thing a brick. Well, not like that actually. I'm not really sure, but you can just do it like this. As you see, it changes. So you can manage its here. And there's also the color section, but yeah, it just shows all the colors. You can also lock objects, makes them unable to be moved by anything. And then there's also the group, which you can use to group other objects together. Then there's also the anchor, which makes it unable to be affected by gravity, but you can just do it using this. Right clicking shows a bunch of other stuff too here, like a lot. So there's a bunch of stuff here, but we're not going to delve into that in this video. So yeah, the home is basically a section of where the most commonly used tools are. Moving on to the modeling, now there's also a lot of stuff here. Now transform is a combination of all the stuff. Like there's the modeling, and then there's also rotation, there's also the scaling, well, basically all that stuff, and also moving. So it's quite useful. And there's also edit pivot, align tool, which you can use to align the objects. There's also union, intersect, negate if you want to delve into more complex modeling. And you can also create joints, and there's a lot in Roblox. This is quite useful if you want to create stuff like cars or maybe ropes and stuff. There's also effects, and there's the spawn, which is basically this thing, and a bunch of other stuff. But you can just do it using your right click. And yeah. And then there's also the avatar, which is usually reserved for making avatars. As you see, you can build a rig, let's say R15, R6. Let's see, mesh avatar. Well, yeah, it basically generates that. As you see, this is it. This is a rig, but yeah, it's quite old. So we're not going to be using that. There's also the animation editor, which you can use to make animations. And then the test. Now, this is also important. If you want to test out your game, you're probably going to be using this, such as when you want to create a simulation with a bunch of players, and or you want to use other devices, or you can, check the profile and players like that. And there's also the view, which is a lot of stuff as you see. This is basically where, and there's also output, which is important. So as you see now, I know why I cannot import those stuff because the connection failed, but that's okay. There's also script analysis, the run command performance to test if check your performances, task schedulers, and script performance to see if your script is performing as you want. Then there's also the find, which makes you find stuff. Team create if you want to build with other players, and script recovery if you want to recover your scripts, which maybe accidentally not saved. There's also the terrain editor once again. There's the chat for the team create, but we're not using that right now. There's also the watch, which makes you watch like variables and stuff like that in your script and game. And there's also breakpoints to see breakpoints in your script. And then there's also the call stack. So yeah, a lot of other stuff here, and I can't really mention it. And there's also plugins which you use to see what kind of things you can download to help you, like Porter's Ring, gap fill, 3D text. This is quite important. Well, not important, but they're quite useful, you could say. I can just insert an MVC and boom, like that. And so after that, let's get into the real stuff and actually play the game. You see, it is currently loading and we have spawned in. As you see, our character looks like this. Not really, this is my own, but yeah, there's. And then there's physics on the objects. And also, yeah, it's just gonna roll away forever now. So there's also the game settings we're going to be delving into. The basic info, there's the name of the game, the description, the game icon, the screenshot and videos, the genre, and also the playable devices. There's also permissions in which you can use to make like maybe if you want only your friends can play your game, or maybe it's public or private so developers can test it. There's also monetization if you want to make money out of your game and stuff like that. There's security, which is, well, could probably guess by its name. It checks the security of the game. And then there's also places. This is version 4 because I've done a lot of changes for some reason. There's localization if you want to see what other people who doesn't use English could use. And there's also the avatar. I'm using the R6. The R6 or the Roblox in 6 has 6 joints: left arm, left leg, and basically stuff like that. While the R15 has a 15 joints, so much more complex, you could say. Or you could just set it to player choice, so it depends on the player. The animation could be standard or player choice as well, such as the collision. And there's also the body parts in which you can override. And on the other stuff, there's enable collaborative editing and shut down all servers, spatial voice. And in the world, you can set the gravity, jump, walk, slope. And yeah, you can also use one of the presets here. So that's pretty good. Now let's actually get on the pretty good stuff, which is scripting. You may be wondering, so how do you exactly scripting? Now, first, let's just insert a part. Well, actually, no. Now, there's also a lot of stuff in the Explorer I forgot to mention. This is going to be important. Explorer and properties. There's the workspace, which is basically the game, the actual game. There's the player service, which handles the players. The lightning, which handles the lightning. Material service handles the material. Network client, replicated first, which replicates the stuff first, you could say. And replicated storage, if you want to store things that you want to replicate soon. Server script service, in which it handle the scripts. Server storage, in which you want to put stuff in the storage like this, maybe to use for later. Starter GUI, what you want the player to have when they spawn. Or starter pack, if you want the player to have tools once they spawn. And the starter player, which handles the starting player stuff like the player scripts or the character scripts. There's also Teams, sound service, and also text chat service. Quite a lot of stuff. So I'm going to be showcasing some of the basic scripts. There's script, model script folder. For server script service, we're going to be using this. Now there's also two types of scripting. There's the legacy, well, that's basically the basic. And there's client and server. A client script only affects the client in which it tries to, affect, while the server script affects everyone, and not everyone, but the server itself. And since everyone's connected to the server, they're going to get affected somehow. And yeah, so we're going to be using legacy. As you see, print hello world. Now, Roblox Studio uses Lua script, which is basically like Lua, you could say. Now, let's try running the game and checking the output. And we're going to see that once we spawn in, it's going to print hello world. As you see, pretty basic stuff. And this is the server and this is the client. The differences, you could say. And yes, something like that. And then after that, let's say you want to do other stuff. On in a brick. And yeah, let's just try to grab it. Okay, I was using Skylab. You can also put scripts inside of other parts. Let's say this. Let's see, let's get local, perhaps run service. Game dot run service. Yeah, so run service dot on, or let's see. So this is some of the services, like I said. Run, so there's render step, which runs every frame. Let's say we want to, let's see, what can we do actually? Well, we can do a lot of stuff here. Say we want to, it's a or actually, yeah, we're going to be also doing a lot of stuff. So if you want to get the deck, this brick here, you're going to have to make a variable for it. The local brick equal the workspace dot art. I think there's a lot of services available. So it's a name, there's spin service, one service. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Let's see some of them. I guess I was right. It was run service. I'm not sure why it's placed like that, but well, I think. Then we can do something like dot touch neck function. This will affect the brick if it is touch. If touch, should add a variable first, like the hit, which is basically the hit. If hit, okay, and so humanoid, then dot equals 0 and print. So we're going to be anchoring it, and let's test it out, shall we? Should be able to see an error if it doesn't work. Usually does. Local script. Oh yeah, I forgot. That's why. Because render step is only used for server scripts on local scripts, which is basically only affecting the player. But since we're using a public, a server script, it should work now. If you touch it, there's going to be an error. Health is not a valid part of workspace. It is quite lag. So as you see, when it touches the hit, it will check. Then the hit of for humanoid is hit, but 10 times child humanoid. Doing this, it should work. Just wait. The thing. As you see, it works completely and perfectly fine, although it just run 8 times for some reason. But that's fine for us, I think. Touch it again and set. Oh yeah, that's just some of the basics of Roblox Studio. And we'll just change the colors and also the materials. So yeah, any questions perhaps from the audience or maybe from the interviewer if they have any questions? Let's see. Or actually, yeah, I just noticed there's no one here, but that's fine. Sure thing. So, I guess this should be fine for our interview, or actually for our tech talk. So I hope you enjoyed this little uh tech talk with me. Not a TED talk. Yeah. There should be a way to make it more tech ones. And we could use a sounds. Then if and not be bounced. Then SEC nil. Yeah, sure thing. Then we crypto calls. Wait, bounce. By doing this, we should be able to make it run once at least for 0.1 second, and it hits several parts flatly. So, I guess that's basically it for this video. That's just the basic introductions to Roblox Studio, and I hope you enjoyed this little type of me. And hopefully, I'll be able to see you in the next session or something like that. And yes, let's any more things I could probably show? Well, not really, but yeah, let's see. Yes, that's basically it. And also, before I end on a good note, here's the properties section. There's the size, sequence, orientation, origin, private parts, and also collisions. And yeah, there's also collision groups. And yeah, that's basically it. And here I'm just gonna end it. Thank you for listening to me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a nice day. So, as you see, I'm going to be waiting for my interviewer to come back, but in a while, let's talk about something else. So, oh, never mind. He came back. Hello there.
Hello Raka. Okay, okay. Thank you Raka for the nice event about introducing Roblox Studio. Okay, maybe that's all that we get in this week. Thank you guys for listening and thank you for watching. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.